Hello, I'm Paul Cox. With me today is Professor Alexei Dingley, Malta's foremost expert on AI. Can I say right?
One of a number.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'd like to start with a simple question. Might sound simple, but what is AI?
Okay, that's the question everybody asks me everywhere I go.
And it's the most difficult.
The most difficult. All right, well, let me try to explain it simply, okay? First of all, I'd like to point out that, AI didn't start yesterday, because a lot of people have this impression that, we just woke up a few months ago and we created AI. No. It's been around since 1957. That's actually when the term was coined. And there's been a lot of research going on, most of it in labs, universities, etc. But now it seems to be having some very heavy impact on our day-to-day life. So everybody's touching it now all of a sudden. Now, what is AI? So AI, the term is made up of two words, artificial and intelligence. Artificial simply means that it's created by humans, no? So something which is not normally found in nature. Now, intelligence is a little bit tricky because we do not have a definition of intelligence. And this has been haunting, the forefathers of AI for a number of years.
Oh, yes.
So they decided to solve it in a simple way by not solving it. And they said, listen, let's define it by association, okay? So who are the entities that exhibit intelligence? Okay, and the foremost entity is the human being, that is, according to us, the most intelligent being we know about. But there are the ants, social insects, maybe some mammals, they all exhibit some level of intelligence. So we said, listen, if we can get machines, which are artificial beings, to do tasks which we consider to need intelligence, so to replicate what a human does, what an ant colony does, then we say that is artificial intelligence. So that is how we repute what's artificial intelligence. Having said that, I'd also like to point out that AI is not just one technology, okay? I like to define it like a spectrum of the technologies. Okay, so there's the dumbest form of AI, I don't know, a tiny robot opening the blinds in the morning, to the most complex sort of AI, like self-driving cars.
Okay, so AI isn't strictly limited to machines that can do things without human control or supervision.
No.
So when you say a blind opening and closing,
exactly,
that's just coding by a human?
Yes, technically we would call it automation. Really,
automation.
Okay, but then when you start adding some intelligent functions, I don't know, maybe it checks my diary and see whether I'm working or not.
You're sort of giving some leeway to the machine. That's where the intelligence comes in.
Exactly. You start making it more intelligent. Yeah.
Now, of course, maybe you will agree with me. I grew up reading science fiction books.
Me too.
Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein.
Yes.
So AI is not something new to me. It was something magical.
Yes.
When the robots and the self-aware robots and machines, and is that where we're going to self-awareness? Because in most of these books, they were wary of AI. They were afraid of AI.
Let me take a step backwards. Let me take a step backwards. So I went into AI because of that. Okay, so I'm a fan of science fiction, and I see something amazing, and I say, "Can I do it?"
Yeah, exactly.
Probably I don't manage to do it, but if I do 20%, 30%, it's already better than nothing. So that's good enough. But science fiction allows us to dream of what's coming. All right, and that's very important.
That's its biggest contribution.
Exactly, but it also causes a big problem. The problem is that most people, out there, their knowledge on AI comes from the movies, and as you correctly pointed out, those movies, most of them, it's about
end up bad.
the Terminator, yes, taking over, killing all of iRobot, exactly. So that's a little bit problematic because it skews a little bit the knowledge on AI. But if you tell me, are we going in that direction? I say probably yes. I wouldn't go into the issue of sentience, because we still do not understand a lot of elements of a human. I mean, probably the AI can simulate it, but I wouldn't say that we will reach it anytime soon. Maybe in the future, but not anytime soon.
Now, you've been on Shark Tank recently, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and you got a record investment for Malta, for sure, 1 million euros, which is probably one of the highest investments in Shark Tank worldwide as well. And of course, it's an AI-related project, something to do with traffic management. Can you explain that project?
Okay, so the idea is to utilize the existing infrastructure. Okay, so if we look at Malta and many other countries, Today they have different sensors, so cameras, maybe tidal lanes that switch. So they have these different sensors. But most of them are being managed by a human, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you have more than 500 of these, it becomes a headache, okay? So what we're proposing, and what I was proposing in my pitch as well, is that we replace that part with a digital brain, okay? So practically an AI. Why? Because an AI can look at all those 500 plus sensors and make decisions, okay? But then the decisions are sent to the human, and the human validates those decisions before they're implemented.
Okay, I see.
Because I believe in the human in the loop, okay? So the human is there as a gatekeeper.
You're not doing away with the human completely.
No. I think it's a collaboration, no, between the machine and humans.
Fair enough.
And when you have such complex systems, the machine can give you the analysis of it. It can give you the decision, okay, but also explain why it took that decision, okay. But then ultimately, it's up to the human to press the button and give
green
the
light
go-ahead.
that,
Yes.
So basically, in a nutshell, a camera, through a camera, this system sees there's traffic at the Santa Venera tunnels,
Yeah.
going back 2 miles. So it proposes a diversion.
Let me give you an example which happened to me this week, okay? So, as you know, there was some rain, no? So everybody floods and and panics and loads of traffic. So first of all, I was stopped at several traffic lights, even though there were no cars passing in front of me, okay? So that can be easily resolved by an AI.
Ah, that's
okay?
good. I see.
Second, I was slowed down because there was an accident. So what happens in an accident, Paul? Me and you have an accident. We go down, we start bickering about what's happening, who's at fault, blah, blah, blah. Then maybe somebody decides to call,
To call the
the
authorities.
authorities. By the time they come, half an hour. In the meantime, there's traffic behind us, blah, blah, blah. So what the system will do is it will identify the accident immediately as soon as the traffic is piling up. Okay? It will inform the nearest authorities to go to clear the traffic as quickly as possible. Okay? But it will also inform commuters coming through that route to seek alternative roads.
Before they actually
get into the
they're
traffic.
caught in the grid.
Exactly. And if possible, because that is something we will introduce, is also liaise with other apps. So, a lot of people use Waze, Google Maps, etc., to inform them that, listen, there's an accident over there, suggest alternative routing. So we're seeing a collaboration between different entities, different apps, in order to improve the traffic in our country.
If you see our latest, I'd say 5 MaltaToday surveys,
Yes, so
traffic has always been one of the top issues, concerns with the public. Even the government, the authorities are always mentioning traffic congestion.
Yes.
The metro comes and goes.
Yes.
I don't know if we're doing it. 1 week we're doing it, 1 week we're not. So traffic is a big concern. So my question is, why did you, with such a project, have to go to Shark Tank to get funding and not go to the authorities?
Okay, so I went to the authorities as well before, okay? And we were starting a collaboration. But given the scale of the money which we need to build the system, it was much quicker to seek private investment. Okay, because what happens is you need to apply for funding, then you don't get the funding.
So you're back to square one.
You're back to square one, and you're losing time. And I think if there's one thing we cannot afford to lose, is time. Okay, as we know, the traffic situation is going from bad to worse. Maybe some people do not realize the extent of it. Let me give you some statistic. According to the EU, okay, Malta spends every year around 400 million on traffic-related costs. So it could be loss of productivity. No, you arrive late at work, so that's loss of productivity for your employer and for many people.
Yeah.
Things like, for example, the issue with pollution. Okay, how much is it affecting us, all of us? No. So the EU estimates that Malta is wasting 400 million euros every year in traffic. And that is not even the worst part of it, okay? Because that is bad. But let me tell you the worst part of it. Every day, worldwide, all right? Every minute, 2 people die
On the roads.
on the road. Okay? So we are actually losing people. So these are things which probably could be avoided. So, I started really from this part because I drive, my wife drives, soon my children will drive. So, it's a constant worry.
Yeah.
So let's address that, but also the other one, which is also very, very grave.
Where does your project go from here now?
So now we started working on it. So we're assembling a team because,
Good.
as you might imagine, we need some very top expertise over here. And we're starting building the project, and we're aiming to have a demo in the coming 6 months.
Will you be needing to seek other investment, or
Yes.
is your current team?
Yes.
You will need further investment
Yes.
down the line.
Because based upon our calculations, the amount I got from Shark Tank will cover most of the personnel cost, so staffing, etc. But we also need some heavy investment on processing. Because as you can imagine, 500 plus cameras to analyze them takes quite a lot of computing power.
I can imagine.
Plus, don't forget that we're also seeking to expand abroad as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not just Malta.
Yes. But if you can make it, if you can package it.
Exactly. Just in the EU, the problem costs 2 billion with a B euros to the European Union every year. Yeah.
Okay, that's traffic in Malta. But how is Malta gearing up for the AI? I call it the AI challenge, because AI is becoming a daily topic nowadays. ChatGPT is one big subject. Where does Malta stand?
I always think that the country, or at least Malta, I think it's lucky because we took a number of initiatives pretty early compared to other countries. For example, when I was studying in 1998, when I went to university, there was an AI course which I took. So back then many universities didn't even have one.
Yep.
In 2019, we launched the MaltaToday national strategy. Back then, many countries didn't have an AI strategy. Now we are revising that strategy, but one of the things which always props up is the issue of human capital. Okay, we have a very big problem with human capital. So this means that we are not finding enough people and people with the right skills. Okay, and that issue, in my opinion, will keep on growing. Okay, and that is why even recently, at the moment, there's the Malta education strategy as well being planned out. And that was my message to them as well. So we need to change our educational system because of these jobs of the future, which the future is not very far away. It's just next week. So we're not talking far away.
On the door,
and that is my biggest concern because, a lot of things are coming our way. And we need to change our education system as swiftly as possible, taking very bold decisions so that we can grasp that future that is coming towards us.
Bold decisions. Such as
bold decision. For example, when it comes to digital, okay, it is still not considered as a subject on its own at primary level. Okay, so you have children. They were born with a pacifier and a tablet, no? And still, we are not teaching them how to use digital tools correctly at primary level. Yeah. Sometimes, you're at the mercy of the teacher. So if you find a teacher that is technologically comfortable,
they might expand
get something,
on it.
Yes, but otherwise not. And it shouldn't be like that because these are the workers of tomorrow. So we need to train them from now. Not from tomorrow.
Yeah.
And remember, these skills of tomorrow are very different than the ones of today. Let me tell you 2 brief statistics. One is by LinkedIn, all right? We all know LinkedIn. So they estimate that by 2030, the skills which will be in use over there, 65% of them are totally new.
Wow.
So nothing we're teaching today. And 2030 is just 6 years from now. No?
6 years.
Another statistic is by the World Economic Forum. Okay, in 2020, they estimated that AI will affect 83 million jobs. Okay, it will disrupt them. Okay, but it will create 96 million new jobs. Okay. So these might be totally new jobs which we haven't conceived yet. Okay. The problem is that you can't just take these 83 million and shift them over there. You need upskilling, reskilling, training,
everything.
whatever. And not everyone will make it.
No, of course not.
But more problematic than that is that the World Economic Forum in 2023 revised those estimates.
So from 83.
The 83 remained 83.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're almost there. It's the other one that changed.
96.
From 96, it went down to 64.
Wow.
So a discrepancy of around 30 million jobs. Okay, so that means that AI now is taking jobs which were traditionally within the remit of humans. And that is a little bit worrisome because, we still need jobs for our people.
Yes.
So what will happen there?
Yeah.
And that is why I said, listen, we need to be fast and we need to take very bold actions. Because even if we have a fantastic educational strategy, but to implement it will take time. I mean, let's be realistic.
It's not going to be overnight.
It won't happen overnight. And we don't have the time. So I think now is the time to have everyone on board and say, listen, let's make a big change for the benefit of our country.
And this is being done?
Yes, it's being done at the moment. They just closed the public consultation, and I'm informed they received a lot of suggestions, which is positive. But now we need, the final strategy and to actually start implementing it because we don't have time.
What you mentioned is one of the biggest fears. Okay, we mentioned at the beginning robots taking over, and let's leave that to the books and movies for now.
For now.
But this issue of AI taking jobs away from humans, it's one of the biggest concerns, if not the biggest concerns at the moment. So you've already mentioned the 30 million jobs lost in estimates. So is this a real reality?
Yes, it is a real reality. But what I think is that sort of let's not panic.
No.
So that's why I'm saying, listen, let's start serious upskilling, reskilling projects. Let's see who will be or who might be affected, and start targeting those people so that we help them to make the transition.
Who will be affected the most, for example? What industries?
It will be across the board, Paul, so I can't tell you. Okay. Before we used to think that it was just the low skilled, all right?
The factory workers.
And those will be affected, all right? Last year, I got to know that in Malta, a factory opened. They're called, these factories, dark factories or lights out manufacturing, okay? So they don't have lights because they don't have people.
There's no people working.
It's just robots, okay? So over there, you don't have low-skilled, low-paid workers anymore. So, but then you have high-skilled, high-paid workers, okay? So you have engineers, which of course need to take care of the robots.
Of course.
So you see the shift.
So it's created another avenue of work.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just that. Yesterday I was in a conference on the arts, no? And maybe if we spoke a year ago or two, I would tell you, listen, the creative sector will not be effective for now. But today I can't say that. Yesterday I showed them, so, the text to text, so like ChatGPT. Then you have the text to images, okay, like DALL-E.
Yep.
And now, a few weeks back, OpenAI launched Sora, which is a text to video.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where things are going. In a few months' time, we'll start having movies which we create with AI. No? Yeah. So I have this book, I give it to the AI, make me the movie because I'd like to see the movie of it. So that is where things are going. And the creatives need now to embrace these tools and
harness it into other
exactly how to produce new things out of this new technology.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel this resistance. It's not for me. But it's not something you can stop. So I think the best thing is embrace these technologies and make the best out of them.
So AI is here to stay.
Definitely.
We've seen, you've mentioned developments, DALL-E, ChatGPT, etc., etc. We're seeing brain implants in the US now. We're seeing so many applications in industry, in art, as you say. So where do you see AI in 5 and 10 years' time?
Whoa, that's a big question. No, I don't know where AI will be, but I definitely...
Because change is so fast.
Exactly. I know that our world will be very different. That's what
Even
I'm sure
in 5
about.
years?
Yes. All right, there are 2 aspects which I think are very important technology. One of them is what we call generative AI. So the ChatGPTs, the Sora, which I just mentioned, the DALL-E, all right? So that's generative AI, okay? And that will allow us to create some high quality content, okay? In a very easy way, okay? Yeah. But another technology which was launched last year are the new headsets. So you have the Quest 3, the Apple Vision
Apple
Pro,
Vision Pro.
all right? And these are reaching some new level. Now, imagine if you combine these two together, generative AI and these headsets, okay? So this will be a very transforming technology. An example, I'm walking down Republic Street, I look at the shop with my headset, okay? And suddenly I can see the shirts which are in the shop popping up based upon my preferences. So
This is not really new technology because augmented
No.
reality has been around for a
yes,
while.
augmented
And
reality.
some businesses made very good use of
Of course. Augmented reality has been around, I think, for now 20, if not more
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Okay. But the problem was always the technology, the
Yeah,
hardware side.
yeah.
And that is why this is different now. It's not because we discovered augmented reality, but we finally have a device which can be used by the masses.
We're making it feasible.
Exactly. And it's still not feasible, by the way, because I wouldn't imagine anyone going
It's
around without
a very big thing.
yes,
It's still very big.
but remember, this is first generation.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like the first
Now
generation
the challenge
iPhone.
is getting it to
Of
be
course.
really.
So the next step will be that these glasses will reach the level of your glasses, okay, which is quite comfortable.
And I'll have data coming up on my lenses.
Of course. After that, it will be the contact lenses. So you don't even need the glasses.
Wow.
And following that will be the brain-to-computer interfacing. So the interface directly to the brain, but different to Neuralink without a transplant.
Without a transplant.
So that is how it will progress. And remember, Paul, and this is why it's exciting, when it reaches the level probably of glasses, okay, that will be the phone killer.
So, yeah.
You don't need the phone anymore. You can do everything from your glasses.
Yeah.
So you see why it's very exciting times.
Now we come full circle to how we started, because now we're stepping into those books we grew up with now.
Yes.
This is the realm of Asimov, Heinlein, and all the others.
But they showed us the way.
Exactly.
No?
But
now we're getting there.
Now we're getting there.
Yes,
now we're finally getting there.
Yes.
So the future for you is definitely bright.
Yes.
It is.
And exciting.
And exciting. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That was Professor Alexei Dingley with his incredible insight on AI and what the future should bring for us in the very near future, 5 years, 10 years down the line. This interview will be available in full on maltatoday.com.mt, so you can view it there. You can also check out the interview on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us.